Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a prop making video. I made quite a few props for my 7-day self-portrait challenge, so I thought I'd show you how I made and use them all. Probably made about 60% of the props that I use in my 7-day self-portrait challenge, but I'm going to show you from day 1 to 7 of the props I made, where I got them from and how I made them and all that jazz. So let's dive straight into day 1. So if you didn't see the challenge, on day 1 I did a SPACEMAN, and it was amazing because this prop was from a place called HomeSense and I got it for around £20 I think it was. And when I was walking around the shop I thought to myself, I need that prop. So I picked it up and bought him, and then I used him on my day 1. So on to day 2 I made 3 small lightning bolts which I was intending on pushing into my face, and the idea came out pretty well, and this is how I made them. So to start the lightning bolts, I googled lightning bolt and got a picture that I could refer back to. Using the picture from the internet, I was then able to draw out the lightning bolt shape onto some black foam board. Then using a Stanley knife, I cut out the shape following the pencil marks, and I probably should have used a cutting board, but I like to live life on the edge, it seems. I then repeated this 3 times to create 3 small lightning bolts. I got some silver glitter paper from Hobbycraft and I did the exact same, so I drew the lightning bolts onto the back of the paper and then cut them out, and then I stuck them on. And to stick the lightning bolts on, I used some fabric glue that I'd actually bought from Hobbycraft for something else, but it didn't work on fabric, which was annoying, so I repurposed it and used it on the lightning bolts. On day 3 I used a massive balloon, but it wasn't actually massive, it was just massive via Photoshop. So it was a very small black normal sized balloon, and I got this pack of balloons I think from Amazon. I think I bought the top one. I'll leave the links below so you can have a look, but I blew quite a few up on the day, but I only used one of them. And then for the piece of string hanging down, I actually used a bit of wire so that it was a bit heavier, so that I can hold it a bit easier because it was a bit windy that day. Plus I wanted it to be a bit more dark rather than like a light piece of string. So yeah, that's what I did for day 3. On day 4 I used a big giant moon prop. I'd actually made this prop last year in July, so July 2017, and I made it because I was intending on using it for an idea and never actually got round to it that year. I think it was because it wasn't really a refined idea, so when it came to my 7-day self-portrait challenge this year, I decided to use it. But yeah, I had my granddad make this prop with me. He helped me a lot, but I'll show you how I made it now. My granddad is the king of DIY, so he sourced me a huge board of MDF, and when it arrived we strapped it to the wall so that we could discuss the size of it. I wanted it to be pretty large and much taller than I am, and I'm 5'8", so it had to be quite tall. The MDF board was rectangular, so we had to figure out a way of creating the shape of the moon by attaching parts of the board together. It took a little bit of maths, and multiple drawings later we agreed on the way to do it. So once we decided, we got on our hands and knees. Well, my granddad did, and I didn't force him to. He wants to do it and he enjoys doing this kind of thing. So he got on his knees and drew out the moon shape onto the board. It just took a bit of time to get the exact shape. As you can see, we drew quite a few lines on, and then we drew a big bold line so that my granddad knew where to cut it out using the jigsaw. We then got the jigsaw out and began cutting out the moon shape. So after we'd cut it out, we had our moon shape, but it was lacking a point. So we used the leftover MDF to create a point and then stuck it on using some screws and some leftover wood to add to the back of it. And the next step was to sand the edges so that it wouldn't get rough and catch on anything, or, you know, give you a splinter. And then to finish everything, I painted it with some white emulsion paint. I used emulsion because it was just one that we had left over in the shed, and I think I gave it a couple of coats, but it was a nice hot July day, so it dried pretty quickly. On day 5, it was number 5. We're on to number 5. I used a big piece of chiffon, I think it's chiffon material, and waved it around. And this was actually from my mum's curtains. She had some gold and black. It was like VOIL, that's what it is. voil material wrapped around each other, and she gave me them a few years ago, and I've always kept them for things like this. I think I've used the voil in a few shoots before, but this one I really wanted to make like a Dementor type, so I grabbed the voil and just waved it around. So yeah, that was actually my mum's curtains. So on day 6 I shot with a huge lightning bolt. I had this idea in my head for probably like a couple of years now. At first I wanted to make it really realistic, but I actually really liked the cartoon effect that I got from it. So I'm really enjoying working with foam board at the minute. So yeah, this was made out of foam board again, and I'll show you how I made it. For the large lightning bolt, I picked up 2 A1, I think it was, size foam boards in black again, and I put them together, as you can see here, and then I drew on the lightning bolt shape that I'd got off the internet earlier. I drew it over the 2 boards and just made sure that I kept the boards together. I then used my Stanley knife skills to cut out the lightning bolt again. And again, I probably should have used a mat, but I didn't, and I ruined my table. To keep the pieces together, I then put some glue onto some extra foam board and laid it over the join and just pressed it down so that it would stick on top. That way it wouldn't come apart. And it didn't come apart, which was great. So the fabric glue worked a treat. The next step was to spray it silver. So I got some plastic oat silver spray paint, which I used all over it. And I was going to use it really densely, but I ended up mottling it, as you can see, so some of the black could shine through. And on day 7, I was not sure what I was going to do on this day. I had an idea beforehand, and it was to do with my workshop announcements, but because I didn't actually buy the props beforehand, I had to just sort of come up with something on the day. So for this one, I grabbed a paintbrush and just was aiming to paint in the sky something. So when I opened it up into Photoshop, I was like, what do I paint? I have no idea. So in the end, I decided to do a stop. I went onto brusheasy.com, and this isn't sponsored, by the way. I went onto their website and just put paintbrush effects, and it came up with a free brush. I'll leave the link below so you can go have a look at it, but it was a really nice chunky paint effect. And I basically just drew a star using the paintbrush, and that's how I did it. So yeah. That was day 7. And that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this little insight into how I created these props. And I'm definitely going to be doing this again in October once I've created all the props for my next 7-day self-portrait challenge. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of the 7-day self-portrait challenges. And you can join in with me using the hashtag 7dayswithholly. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!